Without further ado, allow me to introduce our esteemed speakers for the first session. Mr. Ki-An Nguyen, Director of Sustainable Development, Director of the ASEAN Secretariat, Ms. Nayoung Kim, Deputy Country Director of the KOICA Office in the Lao PDR, Mr. Michikazu, Senior Research Fellow on Environmental Issues at ERIA, Ms. Sunwook Hong.CEO of OSEAN, Ms. Rieko KUBOTA.Senior Environmental Engineer at the World Bank, and last but not least, Ms. Maria Patdu.Associate Program Officer of UNEP, who will also serve as a moderator for this session. Now, allow me to hand over the floor to our moderator, Ms. Patdu.
Thank you very much for the kind introduction. Good morning, everyone. My name is Patdu. I'm from UNEP Regional Office based in Bangkok, Thailand. We cover the portfolio of Asia Pacific in the region. I'm honored to be moderating this session on regional approaches to sustainable waste management in the Mekong region. We are amid triple planetary crisis of climate change, biodiversity loss, and pollution and waste. The large amounts of waste, as we've heard earlier during our opening speeches, being generated is making this crisis even more challenging. Around 2.2 billion tons of municipal solid waste is being produced globally, and more waste is being generated each year. It is predicted to grow to 3.8 billion tons by 2050. The largest growth is expected to take place in fast-growing economies, including here in Southeast Asia, where the generation is already outpacing the capacity to manage this waste. This is not only wasting valuable resources, but also causing pollution from the estimated 38% of global waste that is either openly burned, polluting the air that we breathe, or being dumped and then flowing into our soils, our rivers, and our oceans. If waste management practices remain as they are today, by 2050, the amount of waste that's being dumped or burned every year may double to 1.6 billion tons. And this will come at a very heavy cost. Without urgent action, the global annual cost from poor waste disposal could reach $640 billion by 2050. Since pollution from waste knows no borders, of course, we recognize that this is definitely an international concern and requires regional and international cooperation. So for today's session, this morning, we'll be hearing from organizations on international cooperation efforts to advance sustainable waste management practice in the Mekong region. I also just wanted to briefly mention that parallel to the initiatives that are already happening here in our region, there's also important ongoing global developments that it would be useful to take note of. This includes the work that's being done by the International Negotiating Committee to develop an internationally legally binding agreement on plastic pollution, including in the marine environment. As you may know, the final round of negotiations will actually be happening in Busan later this year. There will also be an intersessional expert group meetings that will be happening in Bangkok in August. There's also negotiations towards establishing a global intergovernmental science policy panel on chemicals, pollution, and waste. And this panel is going to be providing policymakers with robust and independent information on chemicals, waste, and pollution. And this is similar to the work that's being undertaken by the IPCC for climate change. In terms of the format for our session, we'll be hearing from our speakers first, and then later, after presentation, we'll have some time for Q&A and discussion. So for our first speaker, we know that the Southeast Asian region is a critical area for action, largely due to the rapid urbanization that we see here, growing middle class, underdeveloped waste management infrastructure, but it is also an international leader for solutions to waste management. One of the examples also mentioned earlier by our DG is the framework for circular economy for ASEAN Economic Community that has been adopted in 2021 to collectively promote less emissions, waste reduction, and to contribute to the Sustainable Development Goals. To share more about ASEAN's efforts on sustainable waste management, I'm very honored to welcome Mr. Nguyen, Director for Sustainable Development Directorate from the ASEAN Secretariat, to deliver his presentation. Sir, if you can take that. Thank you. Let's give him a round of applause, please. Thank you.
Excellency Ambassador Kim.Deputy, Secretary General of the ASEAN-Korea Center, colleagues from ASEAN member states, especially the prime Mekong countries, distinguished speakers, representatives from private sectors and NGO participating in this event. First of all, I would like to thank the AKC for organizing this event, and also for the Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment of Lao for hosting this event. I think it's very important during the Lao chairmanship year this year. And also DG Pak Savan mentioned this morning, Lao stepped up a lot of environment activity this year and initiative as well, including the plastic circularities initiative and many other things. And for this one, we very much pleased to be invited and take part of this investment and trade mission of the AKC. I understand that this is a third of the series, and we continuing the effort at AKC promoting the cooperation between ASEAN and Korea using the networks and resources that AKC have, and also looking for the entry points so that we can promote more collaboration between ASEAN and Korea. So first of all, I would like to share the objective of the event, that this is a very good platform, and we're looking forward to share policy and best practices that we can exchange between the speakers and also the representative from the different perspective, either from the international practices, the regional perspective, as well as the national initiative talking about the waste management in a sustainable way. The second one, I think that the networking initiative and also the discussion, when you're talking about the discussion later on between when we have time at the sideline, the event is very important so that we can know each other and also see what the innovative way that we can have at the individuals or private company idea. And I think this is a very good one, so we can see how the initiative from the company or corporate level can work with the communities and also work with at CACs with and match with the practices and also the lessons they can share from the other presenters. So my presentation today is very much talking about the broad pictures of how ASEAN looking at the sustainable waste management. We're looking from the regional perspective. This is quite broad, and because I think that given the time that given to us, we will highlight some of the key initiatives and how that can relate to the objective that the mission talking about the transformations and going toward the circular economy, climate change mitigation, and also looking at how the ways that we're looking as enabling factors as one of the sector that can looking for sustainable and resilient quality in the region. So my presentation is very much focused on that. So this is an outline of the presentation. As mentioned before, this is very broad and looking for the ASEAN cooperation on waste management, including the policy strategy. That's one of some program and project that we can say. The first one is the general pictures of the waste management in South Asia region. So the first point, you'd like to say that the waste have been generated quite significantly. If we look at the data in 2016, we're looking at 143 million tons. But then the expectation that to 2030, is going to reach 188, so meaning they're looking for 31% increase. So among the waste, plastic waste is a major part. And it's reaching the serious proportion of the about 100 million tons of plastic now found in the ocean. And amount of which we can say that about 5 main plastic polluters coming from Asia. And some of them are actually come from ASEAN region. So by 2050, you're looking at the, as cases mentioned before, that you're looking at the increasing the middle class and also the urbanization, rapid urbanization process in the region. So the pattern of change of consumption and therefore the waste produced increase significantly. And that is coming from the pattern of consumption and hence the pattern of life changing as well. Then that also relating to when you're talking about waste, you're talking about hazardous chemicals and also the greenhouse gas emission that relate to the climate. Why you mentioned about this waste sector contribute significantly if you can handle properly for the greenhouse reduction and also the climate change adaptation. So this is a general pictures of waste in the region. Now this is ASEAN one. Basically, we have the vision, the community vision 2025, and where we're looking at the unified, inclusive, and resilient community. And looking forward, then the sustainable community is highlighted that going to promote the social development and environmental protection where that meet the current and the future generation. So that is the purpose of the current vision 2025. Going forward, ASEAN is now talking about the next 20-year vision, where we're talking about how we can carry over the achievement we have on the way until 2025 and moving forward in the next 20 years, like the next 20 years, and also learning from the lesson what we have been achieved and implemented until 2025 and carry over for the next 20 years. Now, this is something I should like to highlight: the sustainable and sustainability is heavily and actually you can spot it many places in the ASEAN social cultural blueprint, part of the ASEAN community. So just highlight 4 key words here. One is a sustainable biodiversity and natural resources. The second one is a sustainable city. Third one is sustainable climate, and the last one is sustainable consumption and production. So we have the 4 sustainability part in the ASCC blueprint in 2025. Now, if you map into 4, then the sector, develop the 4 priorities, as I mentioned here, into the 7 priorities. So just to name, just see that in nature conservation and biodiversity, coastal and marine environment, environmental sustainability, climate change, chemical and waste, and also the environmental education and sustainable consumption and production. So these 7 priorities basically form the 7 working group under the ASEAN environment sector. So in the last bottom layer, it basically hides the 7 working group that ASEAN have within the environment sector, who the 7 working group report to the ASEAN Senior Official Environment, where we have Ms. Pasavan today. Actually, she is the chair at ASEAN for this year. And all the report of the activities under the 7 priority through the ASEAN report to the Minister of Environment in ASEAN. So this is a structure of the ASEAN Cooperation and Environment, just for the information. Now, this is some of the interlinkages across the working group. Then I just highlight a few points to see that the highlight here is also from coastal and marine related to climate change. We have the sustainable urban and urban planning related to other sectors as well. And then so we have environment, south technology, reduction, and so on and so forth. So the list of the cross-sectoral interlinkages is go on, but we just highlight a few here just to highlight how important the environment sectors and the cross interlinkage between the sector. So let me move on to the second part on the policy and strategy, the second layer of the ASEAN cooperation on environment. So this is highlights some of the application and also the policy framework that ASEAN have been working and also tried and being implemented currently. So the first one is very much on the comprehensive recovery framework, basically developed for post-COVID. Second one is combating marine debris, and I understand that my colleague Rieko will present something about that later on. And we have the sustainable consumption and production framework, and we have the framework for circular economy, which is basically is a backbone of what we discussed today, how to transform and go toward the circular economy in the region. And the last one is on the and the framework of blue economy. Now let me go a little bit of the comprehensive recovery framework. So basically, we're talking about a lot of factors to advance the cooperation to support the recovery from the COVID. And one of these is about strategy number 5, talking about advancing toward more sustainable and resilient future, in which the sustainable consumption and production will highlight, and also the circular economy also mentioned as one of the key initiatives and programs where the least factor of the environmental sector can lead when to support the comprehensive recovery. Let me know it go too fast and I go too fast because I think the intention is try to give as much as broad information of region and cooperation and environment first, and then later on we may have some Q&A later on if you have some specific issue about ASEAN working on the environment cooperation. For the second one, as I mentioned before, my colleague Rieko-san will mention about the vision and action plan on combating marine debris in the region. Sustainable consumption and production. So basically, it is also talking about strategic goals and also the need in sector, and also how we go to measure and also to match it with SDG, especially SDG 12, and how far we go from the region compared to the international initiative. This is a circular economy framework for AUC. So this is a very important document when we're talking about the transformation to circular economy in the region. So basically, the goal is focused on the resilient economy, resource efficiencies, and also sustainable growth. This is a key goals that the circular economy framework looking for, and under the principle, basically, it's just talking about the long-term ASEAN integration and development, talking about the specific country circumstances, resources, and also the integrated way of capacity building and technology, emerging technology to use for transformation to the economy. So within the implementation plan, that is implementation plan from 2023 to 2030, it highlights 67 initiatives that cover a number of things like transportation, access to financing, and capacity building. This is a work program just highlight what's the strategic priorities under the circular economy framework. So basically talking about transportation, the trade openness, and talking about the finance, sustainable financing, and efficient use of resources and other resources. The blue economy, where it's talking about ways is part of the ensuring sustainability to ensuring the economic activities. This is a very broad, and that's try to initiative between blue economy and circular economy in the region. So this is the second part of talking about strategy in the region. Let me highlight some of the program and projects. You can see how some of the projects as a regional level can relate to the project that you're looking at the other region as well as the country level. The first one is a solid waste ASEAN-Korea. So basically, the focus of this ASEAN-Korea integrated municipal solid waste is very much support the region and ASEAN member state to transition toward resource efficient, circular society for enhanced national and local capacities. The focus of this is very much looking on the strengthened regional approach and framework, and then looking at the investment, basically some pilot activities, and talking about capacity building and then promotion and awareness. The other one here is ASEAN municipal solid waste. So this is a city level. So the first one is at regional level, and this one is city level. Basically focus on mid and small city, focusing on tourism sector. So the focus here is a pilot city in Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, and Thailand. So having initiative here, we're talking about working between ASEAN and the EU, and also at ASEAN and Japan on SDG for the city initiative. Now this refer to regional action plan to the combating the marine plastic. We're talking about that later on. So this is my last slide. I know that I have 30 seconds left. So basically, we're looking for multi-sectoral collaboration. A lot of activities happening out there, and as a regional level, and also we try to connect between the region and international initiative. The second point is youth is a vital asset, and I think that they should be engaged more and cooperate with and engage them to contribute more on activity and environment, on safeguarding our environment for the green and green ASEAN. And the last point is that ASEAN is advanced to invest in sustainable waste management initiative. A lot of activities, such as 3R, waste separation at source, capacity building, as well as the effort to transition towards circular economy and carbon neutrality. So this is the key takeaways, and ASEAN are very much looking forward to other initiatives and how we can work together and support ASEAN as a region for clean and clean asset quality. So basically, this is my very broad presentation. I look forward to your comment and feedback later on at the next session on Q&A. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Director Ki-an. Now established in 1991, the Korea International Cooperation Agency, or KOICA, works to promote international cooperation between the Republic of Korea and developing countries. It has been focusing on contributing to economic and social development across various sectors, including circular economy and waste management. Just wanted to also highlight that, of course, Korea has been a strong partner in terms of environmental multilateralism. It's actually going to be hosting the final negotiations for the Plastics Treaty at the end of the year. And actually, World Environment Day in 2025 will be hosted also by Korea. It's going to be focusing on plastic pollution. So I'm very pleased to welcome Ms. Nayoung Kim, the Deputy Country Director of the KOICA office here in Laos, to share more about KOICA's development cooperation activities on sustainable waste management. Ms. Kim, please.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Nayoung Kim. I'm working at KOICA Lao office. I've been here for 3 years, and I will leave in the late of this month. And it is really a great opportunity for having this presentation today. And so I'm here to present an overview of the project of KOICA. And this is the content of my presentation. I'm gonna cover the backgrounds and the development cooperation activities and solid waste management, and also the project compatibility with strategies and current state cooperation status with ASEAN countries. So our mission at KOICA is to contribute to common prosperity and the promotion of world peace through inclusive mutual development cooperation, leaving no one behind. Waste management is a crucial component of our efforts aimed at tackling environmental and public health challenges globally. So the photo on the right shows a significant fire that broke out at the Vientiane capital landfill site in January 2022. The fire raged for 5 days, releasing toxic fumes and covering parts of Vientiane in thick smoke. Air pollution monitoring revealed that sulfur dioxide levels exceeded environment standards, posing a serious health risk to residents, especially those with respiratory issues, children, and the elderly. The incident highlights the severe environmental and health challenges caused by improper waste management and landfill practices. Waste management is a growing concern, particularly in developing countries. Rapid urbanization and population growth have led to a substantial increase in waste production. Inadequate waste treatment and disposal methods exacerbate the situation, creating severe environmental and public health risks. So this is the slides to show the project compatibility with the strategies. KOICA's waste management initiatives are designed to be consistent with international strategies and goals. We align our project with the Sustainable Development Goals and Korea's 2050 carbon neutrality strategy. The Korean government and major tasks for achieving carbon neutrality by 2050 include promoting a circular economy. KOICA aims to align with the government initiative and support the achievement of global carbon neutrality and climate resilient development in developing countries through ODA and the waste management sector. So KOICA's waste management project align with the KOICA's midterm strategy goals in the urban sector, specifically integrated multi-sectoral approach for resilient and safe urban development. And in the climate action sector, promoting resource circulation economy. So KOICA defines waste management as a comprehensive process that includes the collection, transport, processing, recycling, and disposal of waste materials. Our waste management project encompasses several key components. So these are the 4 main components of a solid waste management project. First one is infrastructure development. We support to establish waste treatment facilities or infrastructures for waste separation, composting, and converting waste to energy. And secondly, we also supporting waste collection and separation by provision of necessary equipment such as waste collection, vehicles, and bins. And also, we conduct training programs for government officials, residents, and private sector employees. And we are supporting public awareness campaigns to promote sustainable waste management practices. And lastly, we support the development and implementation of policies for waste management and carbon neutrality. So in the below, the representative performance indicators were shown for waste management project, which does include the appropriate collection and treatment rate of municipal solid waste and the expected reduction of greenhouse gases through waste management and recycling. So let's move on to the current cooperation status with ASEAN. ASEAN is a key cooperation region for KOICA with 105 projects underway in 2024, amounting to $115 million. Looking at the support status in KOICA's 5 key focus areas, 31 projects or 30% are currently being implemented in the ICT and environment sectors. Additionally, 25% of the projects are in public administration, 23% in agriculture, and 10% in education and health. Each is part of country-specific cooperation project, and we called it as a bilateral country projects. Among ASEAN partner countries, the KOICA regional offices in Indonesia and Philippines had identified multi-sectoral integration for smart urban development and urban resilience enhancement, where natural and people coexist as key programs within their top national project strategies. Currently, they are implementing projects related to solid waste management and marine debris management. So this is the best practice on solid waste management in ASEAN. Based on starting year of the project, there were a total of 11 waste-related projects from 2006 to 2018. For 13 years, 11 projects. And 12 projects from 2019 to 2024. For 6 years, we have 12 projects, which does indicate an increase in number of waste management projects over the respective periods. Notably, since 2019, there have been 7 waste collection and sorting projects and 7 organic waste recycling projects. There have been a total of 6 projects that involve both waste collection and sorting and organic waste recycling. So many of the ongoing projects are either in the initiation phase or actively progressing. So there are not many immediate outcomes to share today. However, here are some examples of our waste management projects. So the first one, enhancing marine litter management in the Philippines. So KOICA, in partnership with USAID, in addressing marine pollution in Manila Bay, the project focuses on developing a comprehensive marine litter management strategy, capacity building, and operating a cleanup vessel. The project also includes community awareness initiatives and the establishment of pilot communities for effective waste collection and segregation practices. The second one is the marine debris reduction project in Indonesia. From 2021 to 2025, with a budget of 2.5 million, this project aims to improve river waste management systems. Its primary goal is to reduce marine debris and protect the marine environment. The project supports pilot design, installation, and operation of trash movement in the river, and it includes an installation and improvement of pretreatment and recycling facilities for waste collected from the river and the community. Lastly, it supports also capacity building programs and enhancement of public awareness for river waste reduction. So let's move on to the Lao PDR's best practices, which is I'm in charge of for 3 years. So the wastewater and solid waste treatment capacity building project for city environment in Lao PDR has a budget of $6.5 million. It targets the cities of Vientiane capital, which is the largest city of Lao PDR, and also for the solid waste treatment. And also it includes the wastewater treatment, which is targeting for Pakse, the second largest city of Lao PDR. The primary goal is to develop green cities in Lao PDR by increasing access to waste management services and wastewater treatment, while also creating green jobs. The objectives include enhancing waste collection, promoting waste-to-resource opportunities, and implementing effective wastewater treatment solutions. As I explained the forward slides, the project has two main components, which one is the solid waste treatment, and the other one is for the wastewater treatment. And we have many different activities for the solid waste management improvement, but today I will highlight three key achievements. Firstly, waste separation. Around 96% of households in target 3 villages contracted the decentralized waste collection services. The source segregation rate, especially for recycled waste, has increased. In the initial phase of the works operation, May to December in 2022, with well cooperation from the villagers and new separate waste collection scheme provided, total municipal waste amount of 1,170 tons were collected and transported to treat separately to landfill and in the integrated resource recovery center. And in 214 tons organic waste transported and turned to compost at the center. Secondly, waste to resource. The project established the first integrated resource recovery center of Lao PDR in Vientiane capital. It processed 5 tons of organic waste per day. From launch to 2023, the center managed 586 tons of organic waste and produced 35 tons of compost. In 2023, the center diverted 246 tons of organic waste into compost. As the largest first market in Vientiane capital, Lao Aussie market has replicated the IRRC model at their market. Inspired by the IRRC and through the technical support of our partner GGGI, the Lao Aussie market has adopted the concept of IRRC and built a simple plant with capacity of 1 metric ton per day. Lastly, in the effort to raise public awareness about solid waste management and recycling, we initiated the Waste Recycling Bank program in the target villages. Initially, we selected 10 schools to operate these recycling banks. The program involved educational campaigns and the distribution of recycling bank books, which is the girl holding her hands. So children brought recyclable waste from home to school, where the schools record their contributions. The program received positive feedback from the schools, leading to its expansion to 67 more schools in Vientiane. Beyond just expanding the program, the schools developed their own methods to enhance the initiatives through games or competitions. So as a result, the number of recycling banks in schools increased from 10 to 76 in 2023, and the amount of recycled waste tripled during this period. Based on the achievement of the phase 1, we designed the second phase of the project. The name of the project is Scaling Out Sustainable Solid Waste and Wastewater Management to Improve Public Health Environment in Lao PDR. It aims to enhance public health and the environment through sustainable management of solid waste and wastewater from 2023 to 2027. With a budget of $10.5 million, it is being implemented in cities including Vientiane, Bang Vieng, Pak Se, and Khai Sam Thong Bien. This initiative involves partners with the MPI and MPWT, Vientiane Capital, and the other local governments. So, this is the last slides of my presentation. In conclusion, KOICA is dedicated to improving waste management practices in developing countries. Through our comprehensive and integrated approach, we aim to create sustainable and inclusive environments that promote public health, and protect the planet. We continue to work closely with local communities and governments and international partners to achieve our mission of inclusive and mutual development cooperation. Thank you. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kim. Very interesting presentation as well. The impact of poorly managed waste, as we know, extends across borders. That also pollutes the marine environment. The Regional Knowledge Center for Marine Plastic Debris was established under the Economic Research Institute for ASEAN and East Asia, or ERIA, in 2019. We know that this knowledge center's mission is to support ASEAN plus 3 member states to improve circularity of plastic and also to prevent leakage into the marine environment. I'm very pleased to welcome Mr. Michikazu Kojima, Senior Research Fellow on Environmental Issues at ERIA, to present about the activities of the Knowledge Center. Sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me to make a presentation in this event. Economic Research Institute for ASEAN and East Asia established the Regional Knowledge Center for Marine Plastic Debris in 2019 with support of Ministry of Environment Japan. We also got some support from World Bank and also GIZ. So we gradually expand our activities. We try to share the good practices on reducing plastic pollution in this region. So our mission is to provide information and support to ASEAN plus 3 member states, thereby helping them to improve the circularity of the plastic and prevent leakage into marine environment. In the allocation PDs ourselves, so this is a kind of a self-introduction of the activities. We have several activities such as information sharing by our website, covering government actions, scientific knowledge, private sector activities, and others. These event focus good practices. Okay, and we have several. There are several estimates on the leakage of plastic to the ocean or environment, but most of the plastic pollution is coming from Southeast Asian countries or Asian countries. There are several estimates. So we should have a good kind of the preventive measures somehow. Plastic leakage into the environment is expected to reach 30 million tons per year by 2040. According to some estimates, Southeast Asian countries are regarded as major source of the plastic pollution due to increase of the consumption of plastics and insufficient waste collection and disposal. We should reduce leakage of plastics to the environment by using single-use plastics, by promoting recycling, by promoting use of alternative materials, by proper waste management, and others. We should apply life cycle approach on plastic pollution, including from the upstream, midstream, and downstream. And I also highlight the other some private sectors. So private sectors should change their kind of behavior somehow. So in our website, we try to share the good practices of the private sectors in the region. In addition, we organize a kind of the webinars on hybrid seminars focusing on private sectors. We try to invite private sectors kind of initiative to improve their kind of reduction of plastics and we can try to use biodegradable plastics or some alternatives. one of the kind of a challenge in ASEAN region is there are so many kind of plastic recyclers, but sometimes the plastics are leaked from the plastic recycling industries also. I visited many kind of plastic recyclers, and some of them they do not have a good kind of preventive measures to these plastics. So, and also from the plastic factories or producers using the plastics, there are some kind of leakage also. So, for example, this is a kind of beach in Chiba Prefecture in the Tokyo Bay, and there are so many small particles of plastic resin in the beach of Tokyo Bay. So there are several kind of factories probably in Tokyo area. So for the factories, so the plastic resin pellet might be leaked from the factories. So we should have a kind of good kind of preventive measures on the leakage of plastics from the recyclers or plastic industries. So that is one kind of the my kind of recommendation in the region. And the next, regarding the waste management, we don't have a kind of a good kind of the data on the coverage of the waste management collection services in each country, in ASEAN countries. And in case of Japan, our kind of the percentage of population getting waste in 1960s is less than 50% population in Japan. But we try to increase waste collection services in Japan, and by 1980, almost more than 95% of the population can get waste collection services. So I think it is very important to have such kind of statistics regarding how many percentage of households get the kind of waste collection services. And also, this graph shows that kind of the intermunicipal cooperation on the municipalities. I mean, waste treatment facilities like waste energy plant or landfill site, such kind of the facilities have a kind of economical scale somehow. Investment cost can be reduced if the bigger kind of a landfill site or bigger kind of a waste energy plant, the unit cost can be reduced. So in Japan, we try to encourage municipalities to have a coalition, kind of an intermunicipal cooperation kind of scheme should be promoted. And so then the unit cost on the landfill site or waste energy plant can be reduced. Because the cost of the installation plant or landfill site is cost is like a square of the length of the square of the length, but the capacity is cubic of the length. So you can say the kind of the budget to, if you have a bigger kind of facilities, the budget can be saved. So such kind of the, activities was developed in 1960s and 1970s. So in Japan, we tried to make intermunicipal cooperation to invest in the waste management facilities like landfill site or waste energy plant. So that is one of the kind of the measures to increase kind of the population rate which getting the waste management services in Japan. So that is my presentation. So I have two kind of the suggestion. One is that you should use the kind of economies of scale on waste management, landfill site or waste management. That is one thing. And another one is the leakage from plastic industries, recyclers, or some other kind of factories using the plastics. So you should have such kind of you should reduce the leakage from such kind of facilities or the kind of industries. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kojima-san. Very nice that you highlighted, I think, the importance of data. Actually, the UNEP 2024 Global Waste Management Outlook identified lack of this data on pollution as one of the main barriers for change. For next presentation, now since 2009, OSEAN has been dedicated to research, education, policy development, and international cooperation for the protection of the marine environment from marine debris. I'm very pleased to invite Ms. Sunny Hong, the President of OSEAN, to share their long-standing efforts to prevent plastic pollution in the ASEAN region and also hear a little bit more about their innovative citizen science program. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. I'm Sunwook Hong from our CEO East Asia Network, OSEAN. It's very similar to ASEAN, but we are independent. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to speak at this seminar, but hosted by ASEAN-Korea Center. And this is my very first time to visit Lao PDR. Okay. I will present about our long-lasting efforts to prevent plastic pollution in the region and the citizen science program. This is what I prepared for today. Let me introduce my organization, OSEAN. OSEAN is an independent, non-profit research organization. We were certified by UNEP twice, and our mission is to contribute to solving the marine debris problem based on science and expertise with citizen science. For more details, please refer to the brochure on your desk. I prepared some brochures for your understanding. Now I will introduce why and how we try to empower people in the region. One of the reasons was mentioned in the Dr. KOJIMA's presentation. Southeast and East Asia are the major source of plastic pollution in the world. Generally, the sources of marine debris are not far away. Most of them originate within one's own country. So to tackle this issue, we have established a network named East Asia Civil Forum on Marine Litter, aimed at reducing the amount of marine debris emitted from Korea and neighboring countries. Our cooperation basically revolves around the international coastal cleanups country coordinators in the region. The network has now expanded to include the Asia-Pacific region. Currently, there are 35 organizations in 11 countries, domestically and internationally, and they have networked with us for over 10 years. The trust level of OSEAN evaluated by our partners is remarkably high, with score of 9.2 points out of 10. So we believe it is very important to raise dedicated, passionate leaders with expertise. So we hold weekly seminar and international seminar once a month to learn and share the latest scientific discoveries and important knowledge. So through the 153 international seminars we conducted so far, the participating leaders develop their expertise and continue to grow. And actually, some of them established their own organization in their country. For example, Indigo Waters in Taiwan and Green Hope in Vietnam. In the same context, training and education are very important in our activities. It's been a good opportunity to provide to intensively learn about marine debris issue and finding alternatives and solutions. Usually the programs runs for 1 or 2 weeks. So far, since 2013, we operated 12 domestic and international offline training programs. It's for NGOs and governmental officers and researchers. Our work also extends to global initiative. We actively participating in preparing our global plastic treaty. Our research team, our international cooperation team has been dispatched to the International Intergovernmental Negotiation Committee events as observers. And we engage in discussion with civil societies to influence our policy and improve domestic laws. Next week, we are going to an international workshop and to discuss toward East Asian Initiative for Global Plastic Treaty. Now I will introduce some of our recent international projects. We've completed several projects in Southeast Asia, including collaboration with central governmental officers, governments, and NGOs. The main funding source came from Korean Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries and FAO. Here are 3 of our ongoing projects. I will give some details in the following slides. The first project is to support NGOs in Vietnam, Indonesia, and Philippines. Those organizations are members of our Asia-Pacific Civil Forum on Moderator. The project title is East Asian Seas Initiative for Clean Sea, EASECO, aimed at significantly reducing marine debris at source. It consists of citizen science, capacity building, and community-based program. The project began with originally the project was developed according to the governmental New Southern Policy for ASEAN countries and initiated after hosting the 2021 P4G summit. this is the final year of the project. The next project was that I introduced in Miss Nayoung Kim's presentation already. It is KOICA project, and it has 4 areas: clean up vessel building, coastal littoral monitoring, and 10 sites along the Manila Bay, capacity building for governmental officers, and cleanups and awareness campaigns. Through the coastal littoral monitoring and data gathering, we identified that the major sources of marine debris along the Manila Bay coastline are single-use plastics and household waste, such as sachet and plastic fan and bottles. To reduce the single-use plastics and household waste, we've decided to further develop the existing circular system model, which was initially supported by USA. The NGO KORA in Manila Bay has operated this solid waste management system, where the residents could bring household waste, and they can exchange to cash, e-cash, or goods. The recycling material recovery center can recycle the waste into high-quality products such as chairs and tables and trash can. And food waste, food sachet and non-food sachet are well recycled within this system. So our third project was developed with additional funds of USA and KOICA. Currently, a project to increase the number of the collection facility from 1 to 3 is in progress. The project also promotes community awareness and education while empowering women as leaders in waste management. This initiative has become a very exemplary case. Now, I'd like to introduce our innovative citizen science program. We at OSEAN focused on fundamentally preventing waste following an upstream approach. However, once it becomes waste, citizen scientists also can contribute to monitoring or protection program. In this program, now 3 years old, was designed to find hotspots for efficient waste collection by authorities or local governments. So it consists of 4 areas. In the city where waste potential marine litter is first generated, urbanites can monitor using smartphone. When this waste flows to the beach, terranites can take over and estimate the volume of debris using smartphone. As it moves further, skynights monitor large areas with drones to identify hotspots. Once the waste enters the sea, urbanites report the damage on an ecosystem underwater. This program is supported by a robust data platform. Our partner IT company, Nayoung, developed this cloud-based platform for ocean nights. The advantage of this platform is that it allows users to customize the data collection according to their needs. For example, university and public organizations activity or ESG activity of companies. However, this program does not have enough adequate funding and only relies on small donations of OSEAN members. So we are seeking new funding opportunities. In the Ocean Nights program, we are trying to cooperate advanced technologies in citizen science program. So this is an example of SkyNight data collection. With photos detailed from drones, obtained from the drones, it is possible to calculate the extent of marine litter coverage. And the number in this figure, 90%, can serve as a standard for management authorities to determine whether to allocate manpower and budget for removal. This is another example of SkyNight's data collection. Litter in SkyNight's video footage can be distinguished using AI and deep learning. We can count the 10 most serious types of trash on Korean coast. This is an old version in our research. Anyway, this method can be applied to other countries. We are excited to announce the international version of Ocean Nights, which will be launched next week. For more details, join our online event on July 10th. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Please follow the Instagram. There is a new posting about our international workshop next week. You can see the detailed schedule. Thank you again.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hong, and very interesting to see this. And I hope that colleagues here would also participate at the event next week. The World Bank Group has been supporting the developing countries and development partners in reducing pollution, promoting clean development, and fostering circular economy for healthier lives and better livelihood opportunities. I'm very pleased to welcome Ms. Rieko Senior Environmental Engineer from the World Bank to share more about the bank's efforts to address waste, specifically on plastic pollution. Rieko, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much for the kind introduction, and very good morning, everyone. His Excellency, distinguished presenters, and distinguished guests today, all the partners from the private and the public sector. I'm very pleased to be here today with all of you and to present the World Bank's efforts on the waste management and the plastic pollution agenda in this ASEAN region. So we've been doing a lot of projects actually at the regional scale and also from the national scale. And I would just like to unpack some of them to share with you that what kind of efforts that's been conducted in this region from the World Bank Group. Okay. So I guess every one of us here is very familiar enough that what is the current situation of the ASEAN, of the plastic pollution in the region that is already explained well enough by the previous presenter here. The World Bank Group thinks that the ASEAN is a champion in tackling with this plastic pollution, because the ASEAN region has been conducting a lot of innovative policies, developing a lot of new business models, and also developing a lot of technologies and innovations that tackles the plastic reduction. So the World Bank Group here wants to really disseminate and scale up those innovations and development technologies that have already been developed by the development partners and also that the countries here in the ASEAN. We also think that the ASEAN has a really key role to play in the international legally binding global plastic treaty discussion, as Maria has already mentioned. The INC negotiation has been ongoing for the last over almost 2 years, and it will be wrapping up by the end of this year, hopefully. And we hope that the World Bank Group also supports that process
to input that ASEAN's collective voice and actions. So this is how we provide the support to tackle plastic pollution in the ASEAN region. So we want to see the systemic change in the ASEAN countries with the life cycle approach, meaning that we want to also work from the very upstream side of the import production process of the plastic until the very end of that plastic value chain to the waste management and end of life leakage in the environment. World Bank Group, together with the development partners and the client countries in the region, to start with filling the knowledge gap, meaning that we conduct a lot of the different analytical studies, trying to fill that knowledge gap by collecting the data, talking with different stakeholders, and to come up with the data that can convince the policymakers in the regions to actually address those issues in terms of the policy change, policy development, and also the infrastructure investment. Based on those knowledge that we generate from the analytical studies, we've been developing the regional Bangkok Declaration back in 2019 together with the ASEAN Secretariat and ASEAN countries. That leads us to develop the draft of the regional action plan. Now it is already endorsed in 2021. That has 14 different regional actions that I will discuss into details. And at the national level, we've also been helping the ASEAN countries such as Indonesia, Cambodia, and here in Laos to develop a national plastic action plan. And together with the plastic roadmap and plastic policies for the ASEAN countries at the national level to tackle with the plastic agenda. Last but not least, as the World Bank, of course, we would like to finance the investments in the waste management projects. I will discuss a bit more into details and giving you the example of the investment project in ASEAN. We've been working very closely with the ASEAN countries to develop the investment projects to tackle that plastic and waste agenda as well. So this is a very typical flow of our support that we provide to the ASEAN countries by filling the knowledge gap and to support the policy development, both at the regional and also at the national level, and then going to that investment projects development. So the World Bank is not financing and providing the financial resource to the national government, but we also position ourselves as a knowledge bank as well. As I said, that we try to fill the knowledge gap that the countries are striving to achieve, and we provide the evidence base for the plastic policy making. At the regional level, that we've been providing a lot of support in doing a lot of analytical studies on the EPR, single-use plastic standards, waste trade, so on and forth. At the global level, but we've also been conducting the studies called Where is the Value in the Chain to identify the most suitable plastic policy that can be applied at the national level. As part of that initiative, that we've also been conducting the studies of the plastic circularity opportunities and barriers in different countries, such as Malaysia, Philippines, and in Thailand in the region. Continuously, that we've been also doing a lot of different analytical studies from the revealing waste management in Indonesia. We also conducted the study here in Laos to identify the current challenges in plastic waste management at the city scale. And we also conducted some studies on EPR and what is the role of that EPR in the context of the circular economy in APEC. So based on those knowledge and also the policy recommendations that we come up with based on the knowledge that we found on those analytical studies, what we usually do is to go into the policy dialogue with the different countries and also with the ASEAN as a region in this region. So as you can see in the map here, that we have we have the activities and policy dialogue and also the investment preparation in most of the ASEAN countries. If you can see that yellow highlights in those map there, that we have the investment preparation in most of the countries, such as
the Vietnam and the Philippines, and also in Indonesia. So the $10 million has already been spent in filling the knowledge gap. But of course, we want to leverage this investment that we have done in knowledge creation, leading to the public and private investments and policy reforms in those countries. So far, we have some pipeline and existing investments included the plastic-related activities. One is already in implementation in Cambodia, one in pipeline in Lao PDR here in Vientiane capital. We also have a project on waste management in plastic waste management in Indonesia. And last not but least, that we also have the ASEAN regional project that is already in implementation. So please allow me to introduce a little bit about the ASEAN regional CMAP projects. So it's a Southeast Asia regional program on combating marine debris, marine plastic. It's called CMAP in short. We have Dr. Kian from the ASEAN Secretariat, who's been kindly leading that project from the ASEAN Secretariat side. It started from 2022, and it's a 5-year project until 2026. ASEAN Secretariat has been kindly leading that projects as a regional implementing entity, and this is a $20 million grant program that's supporting the ASEAN countries. So this regional action plan on marine combating marine debris that is endorsed in 2021 has 14 different actions. This CBAP project is implementing 10 out of the 14 regional actions that is identified in this action plan. And we have been doing a lot of activities to strengthen the institution of that ASEAN member countries' government, as well as the relevant institutions, including academic, NGOs, and also the private sectors. We also try to harmonize the plastic policies, such as EPRs, single-use plastics, and so on, and also to categorize that public and private sectors' actions through our activities. The second big component of this project is to establish the regional platform to promote the innovation and knowledge and partnerships. ERIA is also our strategic partner in establishing the platform on knowledge and also the partnership. So I will discuss a little bit about that innovation platform that is quite original to what we do as a CMAP project. So the action number 14 in the regional action plan is to establish a regional platform to support the innovation and investments in plastic and plastic waste management. So in this CMAP project, we'll be developing several in-person and also the digital platform in the next few years. We'll be first developing the Innovation Expo, which will be the annual event inviting the innovators and also the investors from the region and outside to matchmake that innovation and the investment so that the innovators in the region can further scale up their business development and also to be able to sell the innovations to the users who can be potentially use their innovations. We'll also develop the ASEAN Investment Readiness Accelerator, which is to work closely with the innovator and to give them the training to how to be a successful entrepreneur and also to develop the business development, how to communicate with the investors and so on. This will also be a hybrid activity, both in person and also the online, to support the innovators side by side to have that expansion of the business. We will also set up the ASEAN Financing Marketplace and also the community of practice, which will be most likely in that online format, to also matchmake that financing that's available in and outside of the ASEAN region, and to also matchmake that with the innovators in the region. We will work with the different, target users of this innovation platform, not just the innovators themselves, but we also want to invite the policymakers who can potentially use those innovations that are already taking place in this region, and also to matchmake with the potential donors who can also support that innovators as well. So this will be quite organic platform that will be happening in the next few years' time. So going to the national level support that we provide as a World Bank Group. So as I said at the beginning, that we are conducting a lot of knowledge study, and we conducted a survey in Cambodia and Laos to survey a top 10 single-use plastic items that can be found at the coastal area. So we heard from the ASEAN already that they have already conducted quite innovative analytical study in Korea as well. Our approach was a little bit more simple. And I would say that we've been collaborating a lot with the local NGOs to conduct this study. We have found that there's a lot of single-use plastics, such as some crisp packets, sweet wrappers, shopping bags, and so on, that are actually ending up at those coastal areas that has been washed away from the urban area. So it's actually not only coming from the ocean side that has ended up in the coastal area, but we also found that a lot of those waste are actually ending up in the coastal area because of lack of waste collection and management in urban area. So with these findings of the study, the Cambodian and Lao government has been quite keen in investing more on the waste collection and on the waste management in urban area. So that led us to implement this Cambodia Solid Waste and Plastic Waste Management Improvement Project, which has started last year. And it's a $62.3 million project that is investing a lot in the infrastructure and also the policy reform in Cambodian cities. We've been working quite closely with Ministry of Interior, Public Work and Transport, and also Ministry of Environment to strengthen that plastic policy and also the regulations related to the waste management. We also provide a lot of supports in infrastructure investment in 5 cities in Cambodia to rehabilitate and also construct the waste recycling facilities and sanitary landfills in those 5 cities. We are also preparing a project called Laos Pollution and Waste Management Project here in Laos. Our target city is Vientiane capital, and this project will be around $42.5 million project that is going to be used for the development of the waste management decree, which will be an umbrella national level regulation to govern the solid waste management in this country. We will also be developing a lot of sub-regulations that would help the enforcement and implementation of this waste management decree. We will provide a lot of different capacity building in implementing the National Plastic Action Plan, which is currently at the very final stage of an endorsement by MORE in Laos. On the infrastructure investment side, as you can see, the current landfill in Vientiane at the moment, it is practically opened up. So we'll be upgrading and rehabilitating this Vientiane landfill at the KM32. We will also establish 2 different transfer stations with the composting facilities so that we can extract out the organic waste and minimize that waste that goes to the landfill. We will also provide an informal waste pickers support for them to be able to collect more higher variable waste, and also to provide some occupational health and safety support by providing the training and also the safety equipment. So I have really rushed through that support that we've been collaborating with the ASEAN countries and the ASEAN Secretariat at the regional level. The World Bank Group, not only the World Bank Group itself, but IC, which is a private sector arm of the World Bank Group, is also stand ready to support the ASEAN countries with the plastic and plastic waste reduction. We, as I said at the beginning, we think that the ASEAN region is a champion in coming up with the innovative solutions and policies. So we would definitely like to scale up these innovations and solutions with those projects. And we also would like to invest more in the waste management infrastructures and also the policies, because that will be the very fundamental basis of the plastic pollution agenda. Last but not least, this is one region, but we are aware of a very different context, cultural, and also that the lifestyles of the people that are very different from country to country. So we want to take that different context into our context where we develop and also implement the projects, and also that the approach will be very context different and customized to each country. So this is the end of the presentation, and thank you very much once again for having us here.
Thanks very much, Rieko. And actually, I appreciate the investment that the bank has put forward, not only in actual infrastructure projects, but also in terms of knowledge generation and also policy support. So I'm actually going to be moving to the podium. So I'm going to be delivering the last presentation for this session. Great. Okay, so for this presentation, I'll be speaking more about the issue of open burning coming from agricultural crop residues in the Mekong region, and also a little bit about UNEP's contribution to help address this issue. Okay, let me go. So we know that open burning of crop residues is being widely practiced here in the Mekong region, and is actually projected to increase significantly in the near term. There's an estimated 150 gigatons of biomass residues that's being burned each year. This has been linked, as we've previously seen, in increased levels of air pollution on a seasonal basis in the region, and this usually happens right after harvest season or right before the new planting season. Unfortunately, many farmers still consider burning as a viable option. That's usually due to reducing labor costs, minimizing the length of cultivation. They think that it will aid in pest control and facilitate tillage. Unfortunately, even though machinery has actually been introduced to be able to support and as an alternative to burning, the purchase and the maintenance operation of farming machinery is usually found to be too costly for the farmers to maintain. And actually, what's ironic is that crop residue burning reduces water retention and soil fertility by 25 to 30%. So this means that farmers would actually need to invest more in expensive fertilizers and irrigation systems to make up for this loss. We also recognize that there are sub-regional differences even within ASEAN region that need to be carefully considered when we assess this issue, and also when we try to look at the appropriate solutions to address this problem. In the Mekong region, in terms of elevated levels of air pollution or haze, we've noted that this period usually happens between the months of January to April. And the fires are primarily from forest fires and agricultural land fires. In terms of agricultural fires, this is usually with the major crops of rice, sugarcane, and maize. Now, in the southern ASEAN region, the haze period usually happens between the months of June to September, and it's mostly coming from forest fires and from palm oil plantation fires. This slide shows us the annual number of accumulated hotspots that have been recorded in the region coming from the ASEAN Specialized Meteorological Center based in Singapore. And we know that hotspots indicate possible fires that could come from various sources based on satellite data. We've seen with the data that in the last 5 years, there's actually been a significant reduction in terms of the number of hotspots in the southern ASEAN region. And this is great news, a combination of different efforts by countries to progress in this area. Unfortunately, we still see a high number of hotspots that continue within Mekong countries. And we have also not yet reached the target that has been set forward in the Chiang Rai Plan of Action in terms of the number of hotspots in the Mekong region. This slide shows actually the same data set, but the number of hotspots we've tried to disallocate by country. And just to reiterate the point that there is a lot of potential for strengthened action in the Mekong region countries. Since 2014, UNEP has actually been working on this issue. We were called upon by member states at the first UN Environment Assembly in Kenya to help facilitate immediate and coordinated action to address air pollution globally and in the region. Within Asia-Pacific, UNEP responded to this call for action by launching the Asia-Pacific Cleaner Partnership in 2015 to help enhance synergies among the different initiatives that are working on this topic in the region and help promote science policy dialogue. With many partners, a couple of years ago, we developed the Air Pollution in Asia-Pacific Science-Based Solution, which is a regional assessment report that identified 25 measures that will deliver benefits across key sectors, including on agriculture, and that address the main sources of air pollution, specifically fine particulate matter and ground-level ozone in the region. Among these 25 measures, there's actually one measure that is focusing on this topic: proper management of agricultural residues, including the strict enforcement on bans on open burning. So in the next couple of slides, I'll be sharing a little bit more about the support that we've provided to help better understand and address this issue, and also to support stakeholder engagement in the process. So in Hanoi, the Environmental Protection Agency has actually identified open burning as one of the 12 causes of air pollution in the city. A couple of years ago, we worked with a local NGO called Live and Learn for Environment and Community and supported conducting a rapid baseline assessment on open burning in 7 sub-districts in Hanoi that have been previously found to have prevalent rice straw burning. We listened and tried to understand the reasons why they burn, calculate the rate of burning that's happening already. And actually, what's interesting was we found that on average, a household harvests around 1 ton of rice and earns about $200. So this just highlights the issue with making it difficult for farmers to invest further in the treatment of rice straw after their harvest season. We've also tried to facilitate stakeholder consultation workshops to try to identify potential solutions, and these were some of the recommendations that come up from these discussions. One is to include non-burning of straw and crop residues as an issue to be discussed within village meetings, because we know, of course, that this happens at local level and engagement of local communities is very important. Another suggestion was to establish a credit program to support stubble treatment and slip plowing in combination with soil tillage, composting technology, and other types of alternative uses of the rice straw. And then finally, focusing on improvement of data and understanding and knowledge, monitoring straw collection, treatment, and management after each harvest season. In Thailand, we worked with the Thailand Environment Institute, or TEI, to help facilitate multi-stakeholder dialogue and also provided some recommended guidelines to help control crop residue burning. We've helped set up and recommended a comprehensive framework on open burning in cultivated areas, and some of the components of this framework focuses on burning prevention by promoting burning-free farming and providing technologies to farmers, using agricultural byproducts and innovation to add to have a value add to these materials, and also identify what would be the potential market for these materials. Burning reduction by employing local mechanisms, including rapid response units for monitoring and surveillance, and also setting up localized centers for reporting of burning. And then finally, burning control by potentially reorganizing the farmlands to make them more accommodating for use of machinery, and also designated specific areas where burning is prohibited. In the next couple of years, we're also going to be supporting Cambodia's Ministry of Environment to develop and roll out a resource package on sustainable practices to mitigate pollution that's coming from agricultural waste burning, being supported by the European Commission. Just one highlight, I think, in terms of the role of legislation and also in terms of maximizing different sectors to be able to address this issue on a more comprehensive scale. We've been supporting the Thailand Pollution Control Department to develop their first Cleaner Act and be providing some technical legal assistance in this area. So the draft act is actually being deliberated currently, but I wanted to highlight just one aspect in terms of the draft act. They have indicated now new provisions on transboundary pollution management, which I think is very impressive and interesting. And there is one innovative provision that actually requires Ministry of Commerce to explore use of trade restrictions to minimize air pollution causing activities that could be potentially applied to agricultural products. There's also a set of criminal offenses that's being outlined in terms of any activity that would cause transboundary air pollution within the country and cause damage in terms of health and environment. And there's also another set of provisions that actually includes actions that Thailand will need to take if there would be potentially transboundary pollution that's coming from the country. So this draft act is being deliberated currently, and we look forward to see what would be the final provisions that will be outlined and approved by the government. We've also been doing a lot of work in terms of identification of good practices, trying to document the different solutions that are already in place within the region and facilitate knowledge sharing of these solutions at the regional level. So these are just some of the examples of the events we have organized with our partners. Actually, this recent event we've organized, I think, in 2022 in Korea, and compiling, documenting the different best practices and alternative uses of crop residues as opposed to burning them. I wanted to just maybe share with colleagues that are here one of the events that UNEP Asia Pacific Office will be organizing very soon, and in September. We are organizing the Sea of Solutions, which is a flagship partnership event focusing on solving plastic pollution at source. It's a multi-stakeholder platform, so we invite different types of stakeholders, private sector, government, civil society to join us. It's being organized by UNEP together with KOJIMA, with support from the government of Sweden. I've highlighted a bit already on the challenges that exist, and maybe just to mention, of course, there's also a lot of opportunities we see in terms of increased action to address open burning from crop residues. This includes increased awareness by the public on air pollution. There's also increasing demand for eco-friendly products, and we're hoping that the lower price and having them more accessible will make them as a competitive option to alternative products. There's also increased accessibility of agricultural machineries and also options for alternative crops that could be considered as well. But we recognize, of course, that changing the long-established habit of burning agricultural waste will require education, awareness raising, and a lot of capacity building for the farmers. And just to end, I think my presentation, I wanted to highlight the role of the private sector and maybe some of the examples that are being done by a few companies in Thailand that have been compiled by our partners at TEI. One of which is with the Metropole Sugar Company. They've been purchasing sugarcane leaves and rice straw to help produce biomass energy and supporting sustainable sugarcane farming. There's also the Grace Company that's actually using rice straw and residues as raw materials for eco-friendly food containers that's being available already within the market. And the Siam KUBOTA Corporation that's promoting one of the provinces in Thailand, Udon Thani, as a model city for non-agricultural burning, increasing access to agricultural machinery. And then finally, we've been trying to help build an ecosystem that would support innovative startups and helping them grow. We've partnered with Massive Earth Foundation to help launch the Low Carbon Earth Accelerator, which is an accelerator program for climate tech startups, identify solutions for different pollution issues, including climate change in the region. We've actually included within this route, which we launched a couple of months ago, clean air and agri-food services as one of the criteria for the selection of the startups for this program. This includes providing them with online bootcamp and mentorship sessions with experts and investors, and a demo day with actual climate tech investors. Since 2001, we've actually supported close to 100 startups, including about 30 women founders, and engaged with 35 climate tech investors. During the last round, I think, of the demo day, there were a couple of the startups that have actually secured financing for their startups. So we're very pleased with the progress of this work, and we hope that if there would be colleagues here that would be interested, please circulate them to startups as you may know, or even potentially join as a mentor within the program. So I think I'll end here, and thank you very much for your kind attention.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will now have the panel discussion for 30 minutes until 12:15 p.m. Ms. Patdu, you now have the floor to lead the discussion.
I'm going to just stay here. Okay. Thanks. Thanks, everyone, and thanks to our panelists, of course, for sharing your experience on international cooperation efforts and also helping advance sustainable waste management practice in the region. So as I mentioned, we have about 30 minutes to help us have a few questions for our panelists and also discuss a little bit more about how we can further strengthen regional cooperation and approaches for sustainable waste management. Let's start off first with Mr. Kian. Thank you very much, Director, for sharing ASEAN's leadership in cooperation on sustainable waste management. We've seen from your presentation that it's clearly ingrained within the strategic priorities of ASEAN. It's also very exciting to hear about the relevant programs and projects that are being implemented on the ground. Now, considering a lot of these developments that are currently ongoing, what are the remaining gaps you see where further support is still needed, considering that this is, of course, an investment and market research mission that will be needed to fully realize the transition towards circular economy and carbon neutrality? So.
Thank you, Kay. I think it's very good questions, but it's an answer very difficult to answer, actually. Looking at the vast and very broad information shared by a lot of distinguished speakers and organizations here. So I think that identifying the remaining gap is quite challenging, actually. But perhaps I would like to share a couple of points on how we're going to look at the transition to circular economy from the ASEAN perspective, and perhaps that will help to part of answering the question of how we're looking at the remaining gaps that can further implement the transition to circular economy. I think first and foremost, I think this is very important that we should look at the source. You just mentioned about source, where you talk about the sea of solution there, the source approach, or you looking at the issue from the root cause. What actually we can look at that, where the holistically how we can address this from the source, from the root cause. So be it from corporation, the production side, or be it from consumer side, or be it from the behavior change. So I think that the whole life cycle of the plastic, we have to look at that, not only, single part of activities that we have. So we have to look at that source. So the second point, I think, is that to look at that if you see that a lot of activities across both global level or regional level. I think a lot of activity, you may think that there is some kind of similarity there. But I think the point of similarity, it cannot be avoided, because there is a mandate, there is the priorities of each donors or each institution. So I think that we cannot avoid complete application. Sometimes we must have similarities, so that also we have a common ground to see the complementarities of activities. So I think that different organizations may do a bit of overlapping, but we can see the complementarity, or we can so-called reinforcing the how we're going to do it better if we can, continue to do it from the lesson learned of activities. And so reinforcing complementarity or reinforcing some activities that we're looking on this. Now, I think one of the important presentation from the colleagues here is actually implementation. So regional or international initiative basically provide a trend or the broader picture, but in the end, it's about implementing at the national or local level. So I think that is very important to convey or to translate what we learn or the information we can share at the regional or global level into the national action plan. But I think the important points I pick up from some of the presentation here, we have to look at that at the specific context and the circumstance of each country, because there's no one-size-fits-all here. We should look at the context of individual country as a locality, so that it can implement the waste management and the transition to the circular economy. So I think that the national implementation plan is very important, and also we have to look at the local level implementation, etc. So I think that then when we look in the implementation at national level, then we have to look at the government policy. So whether it is the policy the government want to guide in the sector itself, or such of the incentive, such of the financing mechanism, or the market, or the entry to the market. So these all the policy very important from government level. But at the same time, we have to nurture the private sector, because I think that in the end, we need the private sector. Those who looking the ways at the sector where they create job, where there's a business is there, so that it can be sustainable. So that is a couple of points to say, and I think that the engagement at the global and also the regional initiatives is important, but we need to see the linkage between that with the national implementation plan, and also have the mindset of the soft approach, the handle it and address it from the root cause. Thank you.
Thank you. And actually, maybe just to pick up on the last point you mentioned in terms of outsource approach within the discussions and negotiations in the plastics treaty, I think this is one of the things that's being highlighted, that it should actually address the full life cycle of plastic pollution, not only just specific at looking specifically at one area. And I also appreciate, and actually I was wondering about that as well, considering the multiple programs that are happening in the region on waste management. How can we make sure that there's limited and avoid duplication of efforts, and make sure that we actually build on the work that has already been ongoing within the last couple of years? And I appreciate your point in terms of making sure that we have complementarities. And I think, of course, ASEAN Secretariat specifically is very well placed to help facilitate the different development partners that are working in this area, and make sure that we, of course, address the most critical needs that the countries and the region has. And also maybe just to highlight, actually the scale of the issue warrants the amount of investment that we are putting in within this topic. And maybe a follow-up question, if you don't mind, in terms of the presentation you mentioned, in terms of the key messages, also the role of ASEAN youth in terms of contributing to clean and green in ASEAN. Maybe just quickly, if you can share with us a specific example or maybe a suggestion on how we can better engage young people within this topic of waste management.
Thank you. I think the key message on our GOT that we have, the message cross out to them that youth should be a solution for the future. It's not only today, but also they must participate at providing a solution. So I think that a lot of things we can do. We can see here the clean up at beach, clean up the river. We also have a champion for youth award in the environment sector. But in the end, I think that the message going that the engaging, have them to contribute into that is a part of solution. And I think that this is what we need to carry out in all sorts of activities and bring them in and have them been a part of the solution for the future sustainability of ASEAN or sustainability of their own livelihood. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And glad to hear actually about this initiative on Champions of the Earth for Environment by ASEAN. UNEP also has Young Champions of the Earth program, and we recognize also young leaders that are working within environment sector. So we're very pleased to have this linkage. Miss Kim, you also mentioned about KOICA's practices on sustainable management in ASEAN, specifically the efforts that are being undertaken in Laos, and I'm sure they will miss you when you leave the country by the end of the month. I was also very inspired to hear about the quantified impact and measurable impacts in terms of the waste separation, turning waste into a resource, and also on the waste recycling aspect. Could you share a little bit, maybe, as you've been working on this project for a number of years, some of the barriers that you've experienced in terms of the project implementation and how KOICA was able to address these barriers?
So as I already commented in my presentation, the waste to resource, this initiative is quite new concept to Lao PDR. So the most biggest challenge for us is to change their mind to change about their concept of the waste. So when we do the source segregation in the household level, also, for the resident, it's easier to open dump their waste and open burning, or just dump them in the undesignated the landfill, so that we keep trying to change their concept of the waste, and we keep giving some kind of capacity building programs for the residents. And also when we've implemented the waste recycling bank in the schools, the students are hesitated to bring the waste from their house to the schools. But we let them, we try to make them understand about the kind of value chain of the waste to resource. So finally, they fully understand what this initiative means. And then I believe they can fully understand what we are trying to do in this project. Yeah.
And maybe I was also curious. So in terms of forest fire burning, we had an event last month, and we had actually someone from FAO who is a firefighter speak to us about the work that they've been doing. He's been discussing with women and communities and trying to understand what would actually make them switch in terms of the understanding on why it's not good to burn. And what was interesting was he said he spoke to the women leaders within the community, and he asked them how many children or has been sick within your community, or even pregnant women that have actually miscarried, and have that link to the burning that's happening within their community. So within your discussions within Lao, and in terms of waste to resource as a concept, maybe you could share also a little bit, was there any specific motivation point that kind of, and maybe, as in terms of market engagement, what was the marketing catch that actually got them to be at least a little bit more open to the idea of waste to resource?
It's really difficult to answer. Actually, we're targeting not only for the resident and then also for the schools. We are also motivate the fresh market to engage in the resource recovery center. So it was similar.
Yeah, was it cost? Was it on financial aspects, or maybe even environmental concerns? I was just interested, if it's possible, if there is a general, motivation or marketing switch that helped convince the stakeholders within the community on this.
I think by giving continuous, raising awareness programs, they can finally understand that the waste, their organic waste can be kind of the resource of there could be the revenue or the resource or revenues. And also they can understand that it could be another resource like compost by the IRRC initiatives.
Thanks. And I think that's a good point in terms of how can we better engage and, change behavior, because I think this will be a very important component in terms of sustainable waste management programs in the region. Let's now turn to Kojima-san. One of the recommendations for sustainable waste management is cooperation between municipalities, as you've already mentioned, to share and replicate good practices and achieve economies of scale in terms of service delivery. You shared about using economies of scale in waste management to help expand waste management to small communities, remote areas, rural areas. Considering, I think, the developments that are happening in the Mekong region, or even maybe a specific country in the Mekong region, and compare that to what was happening in Japan, as you've shared in your presentation, do you think it's possible to achieve economies of scale? And what would be needed, do you think, to be able to progress towards this?
Yeah, one of the good example in Southeast Asia is the Phuket Island. The Phuket city has a contract with the private companies to invest in their waste to energy plant. And the Phuket city also have a kind of a contract with neighboring municipalities. So the Phuket city accepts the kind of receiving the waste from the surrounding, the municipalities. And then the waste energy plant have a kind of economy of scale kind of characteristics. So a much more unit cost of the treatment of waste is lower. So that is one of the good example in the region. And in addition, I would like to share some kind of the information. There are so many plastics in for example, our clothes, the plastics, and then if we wash it, then the wastewater is containing the plastics, microplastics somehow. And also from the landfill site, there are so many kind of leakage of microplastics in Cambodia, Indonesia, China, so several countries they observe. And also in the agriculture sector, they use for covering the banana or the palm. So they try to protect the insect or something. And also the paddy field, they try to use the kind of plastics to housing for the agriculture sector also. So there's so many plastics used in the environment. So it is very important to control somehow, not only the waste management, household waste management, but also some kind of the industries using plastics. We should prevent the kind of leakage from such kind of sectors also. I think I forgot one thing, but probably better.
I don't know if you wanted to mention, you mentioned in the presentations, the ERIA, of course, working with a lot of private sector. If there's any upcoming private sector event that maybe you can share with the participants here?
Yes. There are many kind of the industries try to use alternative kind of the materials like wood-based or some other kind of materials. They try to replace the plastic containers and so on. And there are so many kind of alternative materials and also biodegradable plastics also. So for example, in Japan, slow release fertilizer. So the capsule of the slow release fertilizer might be the plastics. But in case of Japan, one of the big portion of the microplastics is such kind of capsule of the slow release fertilizer. So scientists found that one of the kind of housing, the scientists criticize such kind of the plastics used in the environment somehow. So then the Japan kind of agricultural kind of association, they try to change the materials, and they try to use biodegradable plastics for the slow release fertilizer. So if industries change some mind and try to use alternative materials, then we can use such kind of materials also. Yeah.
Thanks. We've actually also seen, I think, a report by FAO in terms of agricultural plastic is actually being burned and also contributing to pollution overall. So it's very interesting to see a lot of these perspectives. Maybe we can hear next from Sunny. We've heard that data and digitalization have a lot of potential in terms of strengthening waste management value chain. And the countries that have the least formal waste management systems maybe have the greatest to gain in terms of the use of innovative technologies and digitalization. Considering the work that OSEAN has been doing and the launch of the international version of Ocean Nights, maybe you could speak a little bit about how we could scale up the use and application of digital technology to improve waste tracking, reporting, and management at the regional level. And then how else could we engage with OSEAN considering the upcoming event and with the Ocean Nights program?
Thank you very much for the question. The technology introduced today are not particularly special. We at OSEAN are continuously researching and developing how existing AI technology can be used to prevent and manage waste and marine debris. So as a non-profit research organization, OSEAN aims to completely share how to use these technologies and help countries make the most of these technologies and platform. While the basic method is the same, we are working to create a solution that is closest to the actual source of waste through customization and localization for each country. So at this EasyCo workshop next week, these technologies will be disclosed to international partners for the first time online and offline. Through the practicing and discussion with our technical advisors committee staff, and we plan to improve them with a focus on the user convenience. So we hope you will promote this event so that many people can attend next week online. So maybe if you allow me, you can share the slide having QR code to apply the attend of the workshop. Thank you.
Thank you, Sunny. And hope colleagues would be joining the event, I think, online to learn more about this new application that could be beneficial for countries in the region. Finally, we'll have speak to Rieko. We recognize that we really need to unlock finance to help the progress on sustainable waste management. We recognize that financing, including greater support from multilateral development banks, including the World Bank, of course, is very critical to help build out the infrastructure and other support needed, including policy support, knowledge generation that you've already mentioned in the presentation. It's very encouraging to hear that the bank's efforts and that the bank's portfolio on addressing plastic pollution in the region has grown by 1 billion from 2017 to 2022. So there's already a lot of investment that the bank is putting on this. Maybe you could share what would be other financing opportunities, maybe potentially even looking at climate finance to help unlock any additional finance that we would need for sustainable waste management.
Yeah, thank you so much for that question. Maybe I'll start with the plastic, since I think I focus a lot on the plastic waste management in my presentation today. So World Bank is not just financed by that investment we make through the public and private financial market. We also receive a lot of donors funding, and that's the resource that we utilize to support the ASEAN countries in engaging in all these analytical studies and the projects that I introduced. So we still have a lot of attention and interest from the donors who are supporting the World Bank to implement that plastic-related projects. So that's a very big entry point, I would say, to look at the waste management from the plastic angle. I'm a waste management specialist as well, that I was once frustrated that there has been too much attention on plastic, but then plastic is a very good entry point to really to reinforce and also improve that overall waste management at the local level and also the national level. So that's continuing to be one very big entry point for the ASEAN as a region and also the countries to tap into to improve the waste management in the country. So that's one thing. Secondly, in the recent month, World Bank has actually joined what it's called a Global Methane Pledge, which is a global initiative that's been actually started by the Environmental Protection Agency in USA to commit on reducing the methane gas emission. So it's not just on waste management, of course, it's through the agriculture activities, so on and forth. But our new president, Ajay Banga of the World Bank, has pledged that we would contribute to this through the different project implementation, including the waste management project. So you saw that Cambodia and the Lao waste management project, we also have several other waste management projects in the region. So we've been very much intensively calculating the baseline of the methane and gas, the emission from those project countries and also the project cities. And we'll be doing a lot of interventions to cut that methane gas reduction through, for example, introducing that the organic waste separation, for example, and to put in place, for example, the composting facilities, and not to mention that the methane gas collection systems at the landfill sites, and these technologies and that interventions will be much necessary to contribute to these methane gas reductions in those countries. So that's something that we are very much looking into, and to really boost that emission reduction efforts from those waste management projects in the next few years. So even if the original design wasn't really focusing so much on the methane gas reduction, now that we are going to introduce additional measures to tackle on this. So I would say to really put in place a sustainable waste management and to have financing and funding opportunities to do that in the region, I would say the plastic and also the methane gas reduction are the two big entry points for us to engage with the countries and also the local municipalities to implement the waste management project. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Rieko. And I think it's a very nice suggestion in terms of how we would be able to actually maximize on these currently exciting topics, I would say, that have a lot of donors' attention to be able to help address overall waste management approaches. You already mentioned plastics. Countries are also including, of course, waste-related activities within their updated NDCs. So in terms of also maximizing engaging with climate finance, this is also another opportunity. I think, as I mentioned earlier, the scale of the issue warrants significant resources, and we need to be creative in terms of maximizing different opportunities to be able to raise the level of investment that we need to be able to address this issue sufficiently. So maybe as we are, I think, have about 10 minutes to until the end of the session. I just wanted to come back to the title of our session, which is on regional approaches, and wanted to ask our panelists their views on two specific questions. One is, how can regional cooperation help enhance sustainable waste management practices across different countries? And the second question is, how can international organizations help bridge this gap between policy development and on-the-ground implementation of sustainable waste management in the Mekong region? You're free to share your views on any or both of these questions. I don't know, maybe we can mix it up a little bit. Maybe we can start with Rieko this time, if you don't mind.
Okay, I think I talk a lot in the last few minutes. So we both have a regional level and a national level projects, right? As you've seen that we have a CMAP project, and also we have a national level investment projects on waste management. For the regional cooperation, we think of it as kind of foundation. You know, it's a policy dialogue opportunity for the ASEAN countries to get to know what are the good lessons learned and good practices in the region, how they can leverage those experiences in the region to put in place in their own countries. So I see, like, for example, last week we had this consultation meetings with the ASEAN member states on the plastic agenda. We've seen that, you know, there's been a lot of exchange of information, knowledge, and also the lessons. So that's something that we really want to see it happening in a lot of different, you know, detailed topics on the plastic and waste management agenda through this CMAP project, so that the national government can come up with their own plan and own, the project design, for them to be able to really start developing the actual investment projects. So that's probably the answer for your first question. And second, to answer your second question, we want to really work more closely with the local municipalities, because I think in this region and all over the place in the world, that local municipalities are the ones that's actually working on, you know, waste management, and it's their responsibility to come up with, you know, the ideas and innovations. So of course the national policy is important, but when it actually comes to that the action on waste management, it is the local municipalities. So through our project as well that we introduced in Cambodia and Laos, we make sure that the local municipalities are one of the, you know, the key stakeholders that we work with and to talk with, and to really discuss with them what is their priority and what is the action that they need at the local level. So that's the kind of mindset of our side as an, you know, international development partners. And also, we want to see that the national government also actively engage the local municipalities in this policy dialogue on waste management. So I think that's, for me, is a priority when we have a policy dialogue and development of a waste management project. Thank you.
Thanks, Rieko. And if I could request our remaining panelists to keep your intervention a little bit shorter, as we are, I think, running out of time. Maybe we can invite Sunny for her views.
Actually, the questions a little bit difficult to answer for me, because we are very small group of people our staff is only 12, but we focus only one issue for me, personally, for 23 years. So as a small group of people, we take some strategy to focus only one small issue, but it became very broader issue now. It became one of the three planet crisis. So I think this kind of seminar is very important to improve regional cooperation. There are lots of events like this seminar, training programs, other events in this region and other regions. Some people can say it is duplicated and it is overlapped, but I think that those are all necessary at this moment, because we build our awareness and the necessity for cooperation, strong cooperation, and strong willingness to implement the higher level policies to very local level practices. So I also learned a lot from this session, and I got to know more about the ASEAN countries' efforts and the Secretariat's efforts and ASEAN-Korea Center's effort. And maybe you can learn another efforts from civil society's work doing. So I hope we can meet again and have this kind of chance again to share improved achievements later.
Thanks, Sunny. Kojima-san?
Yeah, thank you very much. Regarding the estimate of leakage of plastics to the environment, usually they estimate by household kind of the waste and the percentage of plastics, but not only the household sectors, but also some industries, as I mentioned, like agriculture sector or fishery sector or some other plastic recycling sectors may have a kind of a leakage of the plastic also. So yeah, I think local government is very important, especially on the household level. But regarding the industries, probably some other kind of ministries should have a kind of a regulation or a recommendation to the industries also. So I should mention that regarding the recycling industries, regarding the leakage of plastics from the industry, plastic industries, we asked the AIT, Asian Institute of Technology, to make a survey in this region. So they have they already finished the first kind of the report, and we will have a kind of a second phase on the kind of leakage from the plastic recycling industry also. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. Look forward to see the results of that report. Nayoung, please. So as other colleagues commented in their remarks, I also totally agree about the importance of the government actions and also the industries. And I want to, under our project implementation with it, I think the community-based activities is also important to fill the gap between the policy development and on-the-ground implementation effects. And secondly, the regional cooperation in sustainable waste management practices. Actually, currently, KOICA is just implementing the project just bilateral ways. But I think holding this kind of conference or workshop between the donor agencies and also the partner countries is quite helpful for us to understand and to share the useful information between us. So yeah, holding this political conference and workshops This is quite useful to enhance the regional cooperation. Thanks, Nayoung. And finally, Director Kin An.
Thank you. I think that everyone already said all things that I would like to say. So maybe I just 2 points. One is, as also mentioned, the local authorities are very important. But I also would like to say a regional organization, international organization are very important as well, because they focus on a couple of points. I would like to say, first of all, is awareness raising. It's a public campaign about the importance of the waste management, sustainable waste management, plastic waste and plastic policy. But at the same time, a lot of things we can work together. For example, in talking about harmonization of issues of standards of trade and things like that relating to this. And also we're talking about the data. KOJIMA-san and so Rieko-san mentioned about data. And I think that it's very important to have a reliable source of data and data that I can use across the organization so that we can monitor and report it accurately. And so it's very important to share information so that we can learn from each other, especially on the business model. When we're talking about the roles of private sector, role of the local community, of the waste business, then what's the business model we have? And I think that learning from each other is very important. So that I would like to emphasize the first point is the roles of regional organization and international. The second point, I would like once again, Ambassador Kim, thank you very much for organizing this event, and think that all the speakers here will share information. And I think that choosing the theme of sustainable waste management is very important. And I should congratulate our team, Ambassador Kim, and Trade and Investment Unit of the AKC for choosing this. I think this is very trendy and timely for us to look into this, because this is one of the key elements for looking for a long-term prosperity. We'll be looking at circular economy, and ASEAN Secretariat and ASEAN member states very much open for further opportunity to work in the organization AKC on this one, on circular economy going forward. Thank you very much for the opportunity, and thank you all for sharing the information.
Thank you, Director. And maybe just to wrap up and say thank you again to our esteemed panelists and to the participants here for the very engaging discussion and sharing of experiences. I think in closing, I just wanted to highlight a couple of points in terms of regional cooperation. The regional action can actually allow countries, as you've already mentioned, to pool resources, expertise, data, leading to more comprehensive solutions rather than just what individual efforts could help achieve. And we've seen that actually benefits multiply when countries work together. A regional coalition and regional organization helps present us a stronger bargaining chip that can help push for stronger environmental standards and cleaner technology that will benefit everyone. As we've heard, it can help leverage economies of scale and make the investments for cleaner infrastructure or even research that the civil society is doing more effective. I wanted to close this session, and thanks again to all the colleagues here, and congratulations to the ASEAN Korea Center for organizing this wonderful event. Thank you very much.